Entertalk Radio, you're in to all things music.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, everybody out there. Happy Friday. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am Scott, your host, and a man who is safe but very smoky here in the dealing with the holy fire in Trabuco Canyon, California, presently. Giant wildfire burning 20,000 acres. And with me in the booth down is a man who is always on fire, always in fuego, Florentino Buenaventura, CEO of Entertalk. How's it going, Florentino?
Yo, what's up, Scotty? Does know.
That's what they say. That's what they say, at least.
Well, hey, that's what the show is based on, man. Yeah. For those Euro Trip fans, remember that song. We were just singing it in the break. Probably not one we should sing during this particular live episode.
Yes, exactly. We'll have a live sing along to Scotty Doesn't Know on the breaks, I'm sure. So it's going good down there. You guys don't have any smoke or from fires or anything.
You know what? Yeah, we don't. And I've been so sequestered here at the station as our illustrious partner in crime, Paul Berezetsky, is out this week doing some Paul Berezetsky things. So I am filling in for him today. So it's going to be fun.
Nice, man.
We used to do this a lot in the early days, man. You and I, we'd chop it up a little bit right in the beginning.
We were right there. I know. So the Holy Fire, as they call it, which is the best brand name for any major forest fire, by the way. This one's called the Holy Fire. And it makes everybody go to church. Like church attendance will increase like 100% this Sunday just from everybody hearing the Holy Fire is coming.
Yeah, right.
But the Holy Fire is about 3 or 4 miles as the crow flies from my house.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that close to you.
Yeah,
man.
In the canyon. You know, I mean, it's a long way away, but and then it's burning down the mountain towards Lake Elsinore. Lots of evacuations, obviously here in Southern California. It's fire season, and we're always dealing with that. But this one, I had like marked myself safe on a fire on Facebook. It's the first time I've ever had to do that.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Last time we had fires down here, I don't think that was really even a thing at that particular point. And, you know, I was always been pretty safe, you know, even though they would get close enough. First time we had the big fires, I was on an island.
Absolutely.
I was on Coronado. So that was, all I seen was ash. We didn't see anything other than that, but we weren't going to, you know, we were surrounded by water there. So that was all right. And the second time, I don't remember where I was at, but I know that, again, I was in an area that wasn't touchable. So it wasn't a big deal.
Well, right on, man. Well, it's good to have you, Florentino.
Yeah.
You guys in Radio Land and on Periscope, how you doing, are tuned into May the Best Brand Win, episode 94. How fun. So about me. So I run a public relations firm that is called Robertson Communications. And if you want to reach me, here's a good way to do it. Scott@robertsoncom.com, 2 M's. On the website, it's just robertsoncom, 2M's.com. And then social media, it's @robertsoncom. So this is episode 94, which I like to call unfinished messaging. We're going to spend a lot of time. You know, in the traditional communications model that you were taught in junior high school, you have a sender, you have a receiver, and then you have a message. And just like junior high, it's pretty simple, right? It's pure, it's blissful, it's all those kind of things. But as we kind of grow up and we supposedly get smarter, you know, we throw about 1 million things in the way of a very simple communications model to the point where most organizations can't really even locate where their message truly is. And if they did, it would be so filled with self-serving, buzzword-laden, laborious language that was created by marketing, yeah, it's your fault, that you'd check out long before they'd even finish. You know, I mean, there are real reasons why the message is lost in today's communications. But fear not, because you're tuned into the show, and I'm going to help you reconnect with it and get your communications back to that amazing sender-receiver message simplicity. It should be that simple. And, of course, we're going to dig into who's winning and losing this week in marketing communications. And I hear this episode's nominated for an Oscar, even though it's not finished. I hear it's up for one already. So you've tuned into a good one today, and we're going to have a lot of fun here on Entertalk Radio. So without further ado, let's talk about a few reasons the message gets lost. Because it should be simple, right? Sender, receiver, message. It should be simple. I think one of the reasons that it gets lost today is that people just skip it. They just skip right over it. They, especially you have a lot more technically minded companies doing some messaging work. Oh, I don't know how to build a website, but this guy knows how to program in Ruby on Rails. So let's have him, let's have him blow it out. And then you're like, and he barely speaks English. That is a problema, ladies and gentlemen, because your technical people most likely are educated in doing things technically very, very well, but they have zero education in communications. Zero, less than zero. And sometimes personally, they are some of the worst interpersonal communicators you're ever going to run into. So they are literally the last people that you want either interpreting your message or being in any way, shape, or form in charge of creating it. I love those people. I have a lot of friends that are those people. There's not a chance in hell that I would let any of them near messaging for any of my clients. Love ya. Do your stuff. Don't do stuff you don't know how to do. And don't assume you know how to do it, because you don't. And I can point to you, I can pull up 10, 15 websites right now and prove it. So, just to give you an example from this morning. This morning I was up in LA, and I was attending a meeting where startup companies kind of are pitching to groups of investors and professional advisors. And these three startups got up there and they talked about, one of them was really, really cool. It was a heads-up display technology for first responders, right? Really, really cool. And the presentation was very kind of sterile and clinical and talked about here's how big the market size is and this kind of stuff. And it's like, the way to pitch that is 100,000% with emotion. You got to tell us a story of a first responder that didn't make it. And then you got to get us involved in the fact that they didn't make it, and you got to make us care. And then you got to show us that how with this technology, this man's life could have been saved. This person's life could have been saved. And then we're invested. And particularly, when we're talking about that word invested, it's like nobody's going to invest money in your company if you're not invested, if you don't bring them into a story with emotion. You ever watch the show Shark Tank, ladies and gentlemen of the jury? The ones that get deals are the ones that do what? That tell stories, that engage the sharks. The sharks spend their own money, right? I've had a few clients on Shark Tanks. The ones that win are the ones that bring the sharks into it, that bring them into the story, that use emotion, that have a powerful message, that spend time on the message. It's a big problem. It's a really big problem out there in marketing communications. I talk about it a lot. I continuously talk about it. I just saw 3 examples this morning of companies that need help with messaging. It's not getting done, and it's really, really important that it gets done and needs to be done the right way. Just having a message may not be the message and the right message. I think another reason that the message gets lost is that companies like, SEO companies and web companies and those kind of things, they are used to sort of giving the client what they want and being experts in what they do. And so they say, oh, I don't know, what's your message? The client is the last person in the world that knows their message. No offense. Love my clients, love them to death, want to bring them into the messaging process, but they are far from experts in communications. That is why they hire us, actually. They're also far from experts in the courtroom, and that is why they hire lawyers. It's really, really important if you're a marketing communications person and you're working with clients that you don't get your message from the client. They don't know it. I will give you a spoiler alert. I work with clients all the time. They don't know it. They know their interpretation of it, but they don't know it. They're never going to know it. I'll give you another spoiler for the future. They're never going to know it. It's going to require someone with communications training to be able to get the message from them and to brainstorm creatively about what it can be. And especially your more engineering-driven tech companies, I love engineers. I love them to death. But, they have a skill set, and it's not the skill set we're talking about right now most of the time. They are engineering-driven. They think that everybody can speak in a lot of TLAs, 3-letter acronyms, just like they do. And they just sort of pile on the tech, right? And I think that creates a big messaging problem because, I meet with so many startups, and before I meet with them, they're like, well, we've already named it, and we've already got the website built, and we've already got these things. And then I ask them the $1 million question. And this is the question right away that lets the color drain out of their face. And I say, what's the brand based on? What emotion is the brand based on? And there's no answer after that. And then I say, okay, learning opportunity. If you don't know what emotion you're going for, you don't have a brand. Branding is about emotional transference. Those 2 words. If you don't know what emotion you are attempting to transfer, you are wasting your time and everybody else's time down the chain. You are in direct violation of what branding actually is. So don't do that. And like I mentioned with the first responder thing this morning, there's a way to present that has like no emotion, and here's the market size, and we're going to work with government customers, and we're going to do that. That's not how people work, right? We're emotional creatures. We buy things and we don't even know, we're not even connected to the reasons why we bought them. And that's the truth right there. That's the scary truth that nobody wants to admit, is that we only understand like this much about what our brains are doing. We do not understand it. I guarantee you. You want proof? Keep listening to this show. Every week I'll bring up new things and say, hey, guess what neuroscience figured out this week? Hey, guess what brain scientists figured out this week? Oh, son of a gun, they discovered 28 new regions of the brain, and we have no idea what they do. This is not a finished science when we talk about psychology, when we talk about neuroscience, or we talk about neuromarketing. This is far from a finished product. We don't know why we behave the way we do. And if we did, nobody's going to tell us. I've talked about this on several shows before, but it's really, really important that you understand that messaging, brand messaging, operates at a very deep level with people. And usually they're trying to kind of sell themselves, and they just don't want your marketing stuff to get in the way of them trying to sell themselves. The other reason I think the message gets lost, by the way, is I think that it's far too easy to communicate. I think here in 2018, anybody can open up an account somewhere and just start communicating, right? Oh, we've got a website. We opened up GoDaddy. We got a URL, and boom, now we're launching a company. We're launching a company, baby. Look out. We're the next Zuckerberg. It shouldn't be that easy. You, the entrepreneur, the client, should have to invest something in order for the right to communicate to people. That's how I see it. I think that the right to communicate to an audience is not a given. I think that you must earn it by, thinking about them, making sure your message is in some way, shape, or form related to something that they might care about. Things like that. There are so many tools, but there is so little thought being applied to using them. And then when I see people get up on panels and they go, marketing automation is the future. It'll send emails automatically for you. It'll send and track automatically. It'll link all of your accounts. It's like you're already not thinking enough about this stuff. You want to think less? Your plan is to think less about marketing? Well, good luck. Marketing is the art and science about connecting with an audience and building relationships. You need to be in the damn relationship, right? That's how you do it. I've been married for 25 years. I don't think I could do it and go, this marriage thing, it's really easy. I just don't even have to be involved at all. And it's automated. It's automated marriage. That's an automated divorce, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming right at you. They'll probably automate the letter that they send to me that says your wife has decided, since you weren't present in the relationship, that she gone. Bye-bye. That's how relationships work. You got to be there. You have to participate. Your team has to be there. You have to care. I hate the idea of marketing automation. It makes a bunch of people who aren't thinking about marketing already think less about it. Terrible idea. When is the best time to do messaging? Really important stuff. Literally first. The very first thing. Remember we talked about the junior high model, right? Sender, receiver. What's in the middle? Message. Right. So once you've decided who the receiver is, that's the time you figure out the message. Right then. You don't name it. You don't figure out a color. You don't build a website. You don't get a social presence. You don't start on Instagram. You don't find influencers. You don't do public relations. You don't do any of that crap. You figure out your message and the core of your emotional brand. Because if you don't do it then, you're going to be tearing down the house later. Guaranteed. You know, I had someone say to me, they go, oh, Scott, we'd love to do brand messaging and we certainly recognize its importance. However, we're in the process of building a website right now, and we're in the process of building a product line. So we'll come back and we'll do messaging later. And I said, are you familiar with construction in any way? I said, what you just told me was, Scott, we're far too busy putting the second level on the house to reinforce this thing in the ground with the foundation. We're far too busy building the skylights and putting the porch on this thing. Once we get all that stuff done, then you can come back and you can tear everything up beneath it and you can fix the foundation. How would that be? That is stupid. That is how that is. That is incredibly stupid. That's not a little bit stupid. That's wildly stupid. That is wasting thousands of dollars stupid and wasting all kinds of people's time stupid too. The time to do brand messaging is right now. Stop everything else if you don't have an emotional core to your brand and fix it. Fix it, man, because it is literally the first thing. And I saw a thing that came across my desk yesterday, and it was a graphic designer talking about building banner ads in the music industry. And here's what he says. He says, once you have dialed in your concept in photography, the last step is to hone your message. Successful banner ads convey a fact, intrigue the reader, and entice them to learn more. The last step is to hone your message. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that is the problem. That is the problem right there. When you are doing your message last, it's going to be crappy. It's going to be an afterthought. It's not going to do any of the stuff that I'm talking about, connecting on an emotional level. And the rest of your marketing will be a certain level of success less. And we're talking about messaging all day today here on Made the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. Come on back. We're going to talk about who's winning and who is losing this week. See ya.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Entertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EntertalkRadio.com.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am still Scott, your host, here in segment 2, hanging out with Florentino Buenaventura, CEO of Big Bad Entertalk. And what do you think about messaging, Florentino? What do you think?
What's the message you're trying to get across now? No, I'm just joking. That is key, right? You know, it is. Businesses are, missing the point when they're. I think you hit the nail on the head. Without messaging, you can't connect to your audience, and more importantly, this day and age, that is imperative. I was talking with somebody just an interview ago. It used to be you could be Prince and not have anything to do with anybody other than yourself, and you'd have this mystique, you'd have this aloof, artistic brand, and people would love your music. That doesn't work in this day and age with music, nor does it work with just the general business population altogether. Your messaging is your voice. Your voice is your connection to your audience, and your audience has to be a part of your narrative. If they're not, then, whether you are a radio show or whether you're selling, window blinds, you have to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I educate my clients about is the fact that the message is so much about them that it's really like very deep inside their heads and hearts. And if you don't spend time, I know you've gone through my messaging process before with some folks we worked on, and it's very deep, and we talk about a lot of stuff that doesn't typically, it doesn't typically come up in your various marketing conversations. But once you know that stuff, you can be so much more powerful in anything you create on behalf of the brand. It's so important. Yeah.
So continue on, sir, with your Scotty Knows messaging.
There you go. So let's talk about who's winning and losing this week on the big show. Musicians are losing. Musicians are only making about 12% from their music sales, according to a new article from Rolling Stone this week. Wall Street's got its eyes on music as a number of companies in the industry like Spotify and Sonos are making their public debut, Citigroup's offering a look at finances, things like this. But that's bringing up some very powerful and frightening and awful data as well. And U.S. listeners are spending more money on music than ever before, over $20 billion a year. Total revenues from on-demand streams, CD sales, radio play, live events have risen to about $43 billion for the year. But of that $43 billion a year, artists, you know them, they only take home about $5 billion, or about 12%. And then in the article, and I encourage you to read it, by the way, it's on rollingstone.com. There's a lot of smoke in this article, but one of the things that I particularly like is what they call the explanation. The explanation is magical. They call it value leakage, which is involved in producing and distributing music, the cost of running record labels, streaming companies, satellite radios, and it's the middlemen that have to exist between artists and listeners. So when you end up tracing all the dollars, this guy, Jason Bisnet, who co-authored the report, told Rolling Stone, he said that they have this thing called value leakage. You never, by the way, if you're representing the industry, you never want to have anything in your industry be associated with leakage. There's nothing, there's no positive sentences that ever follow the word leakage, right? And so just as a quick aside there. But man, artists are losing, right? Because they're only making 20% or 12% from their music sales. However, I know a lot of enterprising artists. One thing about musicians are enterprising folks, right? I mean, it all from the bumper stickers that say, driver has no cash, driver is a musician, things like that. But but musicians are some of the most enterprising folks because they will figure out a way to make money with their craft, and whether it's touring, whether it's merchandise, whether it's, more of a package of, brand, identity and items and things around a particular artist. And by the way, that's a good teaser for a show I'm going to do in September. I'm going to have a very powerful Hollywood celebrity brand guy coming in here and talking about celebrities in particular and how he selects various brand offerings that intersect with their, celebrityness. So we're going to have a lot of fun. That's going to be in September, so stay tuned for that fun show. But right now, we're going to put these musicians, because of this Rolling Stone report, we're definitely going to put musicians in the losing category. And I guess you'd have to put the music companies like Apple and Google and people like that are making these billions and billions of dollars. And, of course, also Spotify that's going public and Sonos and things like that. Probably in the winning category, I would say. That's who's winning and losing on that one. The Oscars, they can't, even though I'm honored that they nominated this episode for an Oscar. I'm honored for that, but they just can't stop from stepping in it. It's like they step out of the Academy onto Hollywood Boulevard and just step into a big pile of dog poop every single time. Why is that, right? And in particular, this time, almost every news that I read about the Oscars is negative. But here's one that just created outrage. The Oscars decided to add a popular film category. And they decided to shorten the broadcast, set it to they're going to maybe air it earlier. They're talking about ways. Their all-time low of viewers is what they hit last. The 90th Academy Awards fell to an all-time low of 26.5 million viewers, down 19%. And they said it's because maybe they're out of touch with, what the people, the everyday people are watching. So they created a new category called Achievement in Popular Film, which, by the way, just language aficionados, what does that say about all the other films? Instantly, what have you said? That they're unpopular, right? If this is achievement in popular film, then this must be achievement in unpopular films, right? And even though we all know that's true, even though we all know that we're not going to sit through a lot of the hardy-tardy, art films that Hollywood considers to be great movies, and we're just not. They're too expensive, and it's just, life is too short. You know what I'm saying? But even though we're not going to do that, it's like when you have to add a popular film category, as many people have definitely observed, and they got nothing but outrage for this this announcement. They got nothing but outrage. But I think one of the reasons, by the way, that their ratings are down is kind of the same reason that the NFL's ratings are down. Right. Let's go back to election night. In 2016, right, when Donald Trump was elected president of the United States. What color was the majority of the map? Right. Okay. So if you're focusing your messaging to cater to the small area on both coasts, then you're going to have a really small audience for your stuff. I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm not saying blue or red. I'm not saying anything else. I'm saying if you know how to read data, then you understand the fact that one of the reasons that the Academy Awards is having problems is because their rather outspoken members are criticizing a very popular president of the United States, who the majority of the United States, voted for, is how I would say. So it's like, that's dumb. And the NFL wants to do the same thing. It's like, if you want to oppose that map, you're going to lose, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, you might do well, at the Coffee Bean in Santa Monica, but you're not doing well at Starbucks in St. Louis. I guarantee you that. And it's like, so you better figure out how to read a map, is what I would say. But they got nailed for this announcement, and kind of rightfully so. I mean, I think it's trying to solve the problem with the wrong solution. The right solution would be, hey, we're not going to be political anymore. We've decided that nobody wants to see our political BS, and so we're decided that we're going to have our actors, stick to acting. A majority of actors don't finish high school. It's like, you're not an informed person that's going to inform me on any world news. I mean, you know your craft, and you certainly know these kind of things. But it's like, but if you didn't graduate high school, I have a master's degree. No offense, but it's like you're not bringing anything new to the party for me. So my advice would be, if I was counseling the academy, I would just have your people shut up and do what they do well. It's really important, if you want to, if this is about ratings. And it sounds like it was, so I'm going to say losing for those guys. You know who's winning this week are a new system that was created at Stanford University is kind of fascinating. There's a story all about it at newatlas.com, and it's about a system that can create computer-generated sounds for computer-animated objects. This is really fascinating tech. If you're kind of geeky and you like interesting tech, almost everything that you see animated on a screen, like if there's a symbol and somebody hits it on an animation of a screen, somebody had to record that symbol, right? Somebody had to go in, get a real symbol, set up a mic, set it up, record it, get the edit it down and put that sample into kind of the soundtrack, right? We don't ever think of that because that's a lot of behind the scenes work. But this new computer system at Stanford University actually has the ability to depict an object on screen and then to actually create an appropriate sound effect for the object. Now, this is some next level stuff, because only working with the parameters of kind of what they see in the computer animation, then they have, the machine has the intelligence to be able to create the kind of sound that it would make. Really fascinating. Like I said, I don't have time to get into the whole thing of it, and there's a whole cool video on it and everything. Go up to New Atlas and check out the computer-generated sounds, computer-animated object story, because that is cool. And it's I think it creates a lot of cool opportunities, without having to use a lot of samples, especially samples that you have to go out and record yourself. So that's kind of neat. Uber and Lyft, you know them. You use them when you're drunk. I know you people. There was a ruling just came out in New York City that they're putting kind of a cap on the number of Uber and Lyft cars that can be in New York City, right? So basically, Uber and Lyft took this to task, and there was a lawsuit about it. And the New York City Council voted today to pass a package of bills that would basically instate a 12-month pause on adding new ride-hail cars while the city studies the company's effect on congestion and driver wages. And obviously this is coming from the taxi cab drivers when they talk about, the devaluing taxi cabs in cities like New York. It's interesting. I think, again, it's the government always the government tries to play catch up a lot in areas where it can't move as fast as the marketplace. And so you see it a lot, right? And you see things like, Uber and Lyft, which move very, very quickly and disrupt markets very, very quickly. And then you have the government, which wants to take a few years and study the problem. And then a few years later, we're going to have something where we can kind of study the problem. And then we'll kind of know we'll know what's going on after that. So, but we're going to put Uber and Lyft in the losing category right now, because they actually did technically full on lose to the New York City Council. And now there is a cap on how many of the ride-sharing cars are going to be allowed, at least in this city. Be interesting to see if other people, if other, cities follow the pattern that we see there. Oh man, it's not one that I want to report, but Chipotle, good Lord. Chipotle, why do you hate everybody? Why? Why do you hate people? Chipotle faces another lawsuit after more than 703 people have fallen ill to food poisoning. In what has been what I would consider to be a regular feature of this program, Chipotle is back in the news with something horrible, even after they got a new CEO from Taco Bell. It's just... I don't, at this point, I'm not sure I understand. I have to say, I don't understand why is it just this restaurant? Why can't this restaurant go for a couple of months without putting people in the hospital? Why do you hate people? Why can't you figure out how to use soap? I mean, why is it this restaurant can't wash, the employees of this restaurant can't wash their hands when, like, it's owned by McDonald's? You don't hear about food poisoning at McDonald's. I mean, it's like, I don't understand. I have to say, and I had to say that one of the first things I would say if I was in PR working for Chipotle is I would say we need to get into a room and understand what the hell is going on with this company, and I mean, beyond the BS statements of we're going to close the company and we're going to find out about, we're going to close everybody. We're going to do a training about the importance of hygiene, whatever. Get in a room for reals and go, what is happening? Why are all these, how could we be poisoning this many people? What is the matter with us? This company's a scourge, man. And yet you go to the mall and like Chipotle's rocking and there's lines out the door. And I feel like saying, there's not a chance in hell I would eat at Chipotle. I got to say, I've covered this company for the last couple of years in such a negative fashion. There isn't any chance at any occasion that I would ever eat at this company. There's no way. There's so many other choices that I would make first. And I don't get it. I'm going to put them in losing, and losing and confusing is how I would probably say it. Awful. Awful, awful, awful. So, let's see. I want to talk about AI for a second. An article came out this week in the New York Times talking about AI and how it's going to help the workplace. And then it basically says where's the forecast? It was Forrester Research estimated that revenue from AI would triple to $2.9 billion over the next 3 years. That's fine. By 2021, robotic automation technology will be doing the equivalent work of nearly 4.3 million humans worldwide, according to Forrester. Okay, right. I mean, I get it. Bots may do some work not previously done by humans. I think you got to, with any kind of technology in any kind of organization, you got to be careful. I do want to talk about marketing bots for a second. Again, we talked about the importance of you being in the relationship. If you don't care enough to be in the relationship with your customer, why in the hell would they care? Why would they care enough to be talking to your bots? It's like, think it through. Think it through. And I get there's a lot of technologies like, well, this makes us more efficient and this makes us better and this makes us. If it pushes you farther away from your customer, it ain't helping. It ain't going to help. Okay? You heard it here first. I'm just saying. And that's who's winning and losing this week, folks. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. Come on back, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to keep your messaging simple and clear.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Entertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EntertalkRadio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. You are tuned to a brand new episode of May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am Scott, your host. We are here in segment 3. We're hanging with Florentino Buenaventura down in the booth in Entertalk. Florentino, how we doing, man?
Man, I think I'm going to go out and get some Chipotle. Not.
Come on, man. Chipotle, why do you hate people so much?
I gave up on Chipotle
Why?
long ago. I lost flavor for the taste of it. I tried. I was there for a little bit with them, and then I was like, I think they changed the flavors or whatever. I just like, we got Mexican food all day long here in San Diego. I get it.
You know, their new tagline should be Chipotle, here's hoping.
Or here, Chipotle, we get it right most of the time.
we get it right, like, yeah, exactly. At least 1/3 of the time, you're not going to drop dead of food poisoning. The other 2/3, that's on you.
Eat at your own risk. Eat at your own risk.
Hey, what do you think about that 12% figure? Musicians only making 12% from their music sales. I mean, you talk to a lot of musicians on your shows and everything. That's pretty. That probably pisses them off about it.
I think so, but I think that's been the case. I think that I think ultimately the industry is going to change and they'll be making bigger percents. But the problem is really, what is that revenue for? And I have a little, sympathy for like the Spotifys and the other companies of the world, because realistically, their CPM, folks, which CPM is basically how much money you get paid for 1,000 listeners, is so much less compared to terrestrial. Because we feel it, we are the same boat, because they're internet based, and the perception of internet based radio is not the same as terrestrial. Although I would say that it's as impactful, or sometimes more impactful, because you could do the more creative, interaction with it, where you can't interact with terrestrial at all. But the old guard still thinks that. So I feel for that. I don't think that the days of selling music is relevant anymore. I think that artists have to understand that their product is them now. They really have to look at themselves as the product versus the music that they create. And then once they start realizing that, then I think that dynamic will change. But I think for the most part, for the most part that artists have always gotten the short end of the stick when it comes down to the music business.
Woo, music business. Way to make a small fortune by starting with the large one. I like it. Hey, I got 2 words for you. Value leakage.
All I could think of is Alestra when it. I want to say that's what I think of. If anybody remembers Alestra, the oil substitute, fat substitute.
You never want your brand associated with the words leakage.
No.
There should be no leakage in any of your messaging. We're talking about messaging today. If your message map includes the word leakage, you should stop. You need to stop. Stop right away. All right. So let's go. Thanks, Florentino.
You're welcome, brother.
All right. Well, we're here on the show. We're talking about messaging all day today. We're talking about why it's so important. We're talking about why you need to do it. I'm going to give you 5 golden tips on for working with your messaging. Probably going to come as no surprise, but really important stuff that everybody should know. Number 1, do it as soon as possible. Once the receiver of your message has been identified, work on the message right then. Right? Start it once you know who you're communicating to. Start working on the message. I can't tell you how many companies I talk to that basically put messaging last. Like the guy from creating the banner ads that said the last thing that you want to do is hone your message. Bull crap. The first thing that you want to do is hone your message. Really, really, really important. And there isn't a defined order of how these things go. If you don't do messaging first, let's say you come up with something brilliant at the end, and then you're like, oh, now we got to fix the website and all the communication channels. I mean, you're saving yourself a lot of effort by doing messaging first. I don't know why. I don't know why more companies don't do it. I don't know why people don't sit down and spend time on the message. I don't know why. I don't know how you can make this work successful and not spend time on the message. I just don't understand. Again, not later, not last, not when everything is done. Right now. You're a startup company. I told you I saw pitches from 3 startup companies this morning. Not a one of them had a message that was in any way, shape, or form compelling. It was, kind of clear. One of them wasn't even clear, but, not strong, have not thought through what are we saying? Why would anyone care? One person put up their mission statement. Nobody cares about your mission statement. What year do you think this is? It's like, no. Remember in Office Space when the guy comes running through and he tears down the thing that says mission statement? Do that. If you have a mission statement right now, go tear that down. That's a bunch of meaningless marketing drivel that was come up with in some strategic retreat where you did some trust falls and stuff. It means nothing to your audience. Literally nothing. Don't do stuff like that. Figure out the message for them. Tip number 2, spend time on it. Before I start with any client, we spend at least 3 to 4 hours together. 3 to 4 hours together on messaging. I spend 15 to 20 hours on messaging. Before any communication is done, I spend 20 hours on messaging. Really important. You got to have time to work on the message, to talk about what emotions we're dealing with, to do that neuromarketing stuff that we talked about. That's how Apple does it. They don't talk about themselves. They talk about you. They help you complete your I am statements about how awesome you are, which is what you're most interested in because you care about you more than you care about them. And that's really important to understand that. If you're going to be great at marketing communications, you better damn well understand that people care fundamentally the most about themselves. And you need to intersect whatever you're doing with whatever inner monologue stuff is going on with them. And believe me, it is a Mr. Toad's wild ride of psychology and neuroscience. Believe it. Spend at least 15 or 20 hours on messaging. And I know some people say, well, what can you do for 15 or 20 hours? You can work on it. You can work on it. You can work on the message. You can talk about deep stuff. You can get in there. Like I said, my process that I work with every company is 15 to 20 hours on messaging. And that's before we talk about anything. I have all kinds of clients that want to engage me and say, well, Scott, I need a press release written. Great. What's the message? Well, we got this mission statement. Wrong answer. What's the real message? Do we have one? And then if you don't, worry. That's when all the stuff that we're doing, I'm like, let's not waste our time. Let's set this up correctly. It's really, really important. Tip number 3. Make sure the message is all about them and not about us. Figure out an emotion that you want your brand to own, and there are 72 quantifiable human emotional states that can be traced and you can own. With my clients, I try to boil it down to the big 7. I did a whole episode on brand messaging, by the way, back in the first year of the show. I urge you to check that one out because I go over all the emotional states and kind of all those things. But figure out what that emotion is. Maybe it's trust. Maybe it's surprise. Maybe it's ego. Ego is a huge one. Did you know that the Apple brand is built around ego? Yes, it is. Their message is what? You're more powerful than you think. Aren't you awesome? Look, you can unlock the phone with your face. Aren't you awesome? How cool are you? You look so good in those pants. Aren't you amazing? And guess what you want to hear? Don't I look good in these pants? I am so cool. Look how freaking awesome I am. I want people to tell me how awesome I am. Now, if I send a marketing survey out to the people and I say, is it really important to you that we validate you and all of your incredibly vain, personal beliefs about yourself? There isn't a person on this planet that would answer yes. But it's 1,000% the truth. Okay? You must understand that. You must understand that we constantly have a tape that's playing in our minds that says, I am funny. I am cool. I am awesome. Aren't I a great bass player? Don't I have cute kids? Isn't my dog awesome? Look at this. Don't believe me? Go to Facebook. What do you see on Facebook? Because you know what I see? I see I am, don't I look good in these pants? Look how good I look. Oh my God, I'm in Hawaii. Aren't I successful? Look how funny I am. Aren't I amazing? Oh yeah, look at this. Look up the car I drive. Isn't this fantastic? Oh my God. And look, I have a paved driveway with expensive concrete pavers. That's because I'm awesome. And now this is your time to tell me how awesome I am. Go. Right? That's what people want from your marketing. Right there. They want you to tell them how awesome they're going to be with your stuff. Okay? And I don't know why everybody doesn't do it. I don't understand. But all of my clients do it, and it works like hell. I got to say, it's awesome. So that's because that's how people work. That's how our brains work, right? And it's that message, that kind of a message. Like I said, Apple is worth $1 trillion. It's $1 trillion company. They could say anything about themselves. Hey, by the way, we revolutionized the phone business. We own the music industry. By the way, we own a lot of the movie industry. We own, all things content and all the ways content is consumed. That's us. We are that company. They don't say anything about that. They put you front and center in their brand because they understand that they're trying to transfer an emotion about you back to you. Okay? That's branding. That is the definition of branding right there. Transferring an emotion that you want to feel about yourself back to you in a positive way and intersect it in a positive way with the product. You do that and marketing takes care of itself. It absolutely does. Really, really important. Yet, how many messages do I see that say, we've been in business for 32 years. We have this. We won this award. We are this. We are this. Nobody cares. It's like nobody cares. They just care about themselves. And it's so easy. It's so easy to put them first. Yet the problem that I solve consistently for my clients is how do we make it about them? Especially tech companies. Oh, this product does this. This product, has this technological achievement. This has this. It's meaningless unless you tie it back into, does it make me cooler? Does it reinforce the perception in my mind that I already have that I'm a super awesome, cool dude who, needs that is a good way to say it, and we all need that. And nobody's ever going to tell you. And don't make the mistake like some people have done and say, oh, well, we're going to ask our customers to tell us the real reasons. They're not going to tell you. And here is a spoiler alert for you. They don't know. They aren't completely connected to it. Did you know that we buy things sometimes and we don't actually know why we bought them? Or we actually don't know why we bought them in this store or why we did it or what, there are, like I said, this is an unfinished science that we're talking about. But make sure, one thing that you can do right now, today, is to make sure your message is about them. And I mean all about them. You don't even need to look at Apple. If Apple doesn't need to talk about themselves, and they could, remember the $1 trillion, right? So they could talk about themselves, but they don't. So you shouldn't be talking about yourself either. You should make sure that you are making it all about them. Because all they want to hear about is themselves. Own that emotion. That's the ego emotion. But own the emotion that's important to them, that's going to drive their behavior, that's going to be true for them, that kind of thing. And that's why you spend time on it. Tip number 4, create your rules and your style guides for how the message is going to be presented. Another mistake I see all the time is that the message isn't written down. Somebody feels like they have a message, and then like I meet them at a trade show, and I go and I ask 3 people, and they all have a different perception of the message. This is amateur night, ladies and gentlemen. do not go to a trade show and your staff doesn't know your message. And I mean, they should know it like their own name, rank, and serial number, baby. If I come up there with my little microphone from May the Best Brand Win and go, hey, how you doing? It's good to see you today. And I just want to see what this brand is based on. You know, what emotion are you guys trying to own? Everybody in that booth should give me the same answer, right? Everybody should give me the same answer. And in the exact same words. And as boring and as weird as that sounds, that's exactly what you want. You know, if you're sitting in the brand police chair, and I know a lot of you are out there, you know, and that's a tough chair to be in. It's not always the most popular job on the planet, but it's your job to create the rules and the style guides for how the message is going to be presented. And then make sure people don't get creative on you. You know, it's like if the CEO wants to get innovative, I've had CEOs that go, well, I'm tired of saying it the same way. I'm really tired. So I'd really like to, you know, innovate it. Well, then I usually pull up like companies that have stuck with the same tagline for the last 35, 40 years. And they're usually like multi-billion dollar massive companies that this company wants to be like. If you ever get stuck like that and the board of directors goes, well, Phil, we really want to change this because we're kind of tired of it ourselves. Who gives a crap what you're tired of? You know, I mean, that's the first thing I would say is no one gives a crap what you're tired of. We're talking about the audience. The audience is more important than you or your wife or anybody else is in this equation. Get yourself out of this thing. It's like, you know, very, very, very important. Nike has stuck with just do it for a good long time. And you know what? It is damn well worked for them. If somebody comes in there and goes, well, you know, I think we should change the tagline from just do it. I bet you there's about 1 million people in Nike that say, you know what? This is still true for the audience. And if you're personally tired of it, then that is a personal issue that you need to solve privately. But when we're talking about marketing and communications, we're talking about our audience. It's 1,000% about them. It's not about us. Last tip, stick with it. You know, don't change it again until it's absolutely necessary. Once you've created the rules and the style guide and that kind of thing, don't be afraid to stick with it for a good long time. That's how people learn. And if you personally become tired of it, again, that is kind of an issue that you have and not so much an issue that the audience has. And again, we want to be about how to make things great for the audience. It's very important. So, you know, what did we learn today? You know, we learned that messaging is the foundation and the core of any successful communications effort. Yet thousands of companies are out there communicating without a clue about what they're saying or why they're saying it. They can't even answer the question what emotion their brand's built on. If it's going to change, it's going to be us, the marketer and communicator and communications folks of the world that's going to change it. And, you know, this work is far too important to be left unfinished. It's far too important to just be out there with some speeds and feeds and not go deep like we can. You know, get in there early on. Create a message that's worth communicating. You're going to love your job when you do it. That's it from me, folks. Until next week, this has been Scott Robertson, host of May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media. Rock on. See you later. You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Entertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al DiMeola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?